Anti-Afro Spingalies, I'm finally telling you about the issue that I kept saying, I gotta post a video, I gotta post a video. I kept saying it over and over. This is about Scarlet and Catherine Brown. Some of you may or may not know who I'm talking about. This relates to that lawsuit that Catherine Brown filed back in 2021. It was at the end of the year. She filed a lawsuit and listed like a bunch of names. I think it was 14 names. And when I say names, most of the names up there were screen names, so everybody would know who she was talking about, because I don't believe she had their legal names. Actually, I know she didn't have the legal names at that point of all those she was trying to target. One of the names up there was Scarlet. So she had her name up there, but when it came time to serve people, she only picked out a select number of individuals, and I was among them. At first, Gerald was not among those that she was targeting with this lawsuit. And also AFW. I'm not even going to mention the other names. I don't care. I'm going to focus on the Scarlet issue. I might bring in a few others to highlight a point, but I'm not listing all the subjects on that list. But I'm emphasizing a point about what we always knew the goal of the lawsuit was. It was never about feeling there was an actual opportunity or standing to recover anything because of facts. The goal was to embarrass, humiliate, shame, cause all types of negative feelings. And this is why I'm bringing forth the Scarlet situation, because Scarlet's reaction to what happened is what I'm going to tell you about, highlights that very issue, the purpose of filing the lawsuit. So she files a lawsuit, but Scarlet was not one of the people that she served. So Scarlet was under no timeline, under no obligation to do anything. Nothing. Then in November 2022, the court dismissed me, dismissed Rev G, dismissed AFW. But before then, she was doing a bunch of amendments and making claims and complaining every time. Like I would say something on YouTube, she'd follow some amendment and complain about what I was saying. It didn't make any difference. I wasn't concerned about that. So after the judge dismissed us, she completely dropped any sort of action on the lawsuit. She just went dark, which obviously leads me to believe, which I already knew it anyway, she was really trying her hardest. She was swinging for the fences, believing she could really do something to me, to Rev G and AFW. And I am positive the backing came from Dumpsy D. Durrell. That was a catalyst. He really wanted us bad. Now, I don't know and I do not care. I cannot emphasize how strongly I mean that statement. When it comes to what did or didn't happen with Catherine Brown and TCTV and all those other subjects that she was dealing with, don't give a damn at all. And that's what the lawyer was emphasizing. I'm not even going to look at that. We're only looking at what she's claiming that you guys did. So we're not even going to focus on that. But the issue is this. Scarlet, think about Scarlet, was never served. So Catherine Brown completely does nothing on this lawsuit from November 2022 until January 2024. It was more than a year. The court let it be known that this lawsuit is going to be sent to the canners if you do not take action and get this ball continuing. It's ridiculous to file a lawsuit and let it sit there for a year plus. So she got back on the horn, or back in the saddle, whatever you want to call it, and she submits a document talking about, I'm dropping this person, I'm dropping that person, I'm dropping this person, I'm dropping that person, because whatever. One of the people she said she was dropping was Scarlet. Scarlet was never a party to the lawsuit. But here's what happened. This is the punchline, or the kicker, the gut punch. When she did that, she put in Scarlet's legal name, government name, and repeated the things that she accused her of. A bunch of just wild stuff. So if you're going to be dropping someone from a lawsuit, why would you give their government name? And number two, how are you dropping someone from a lawsuit that was never a party to the lawsuit? She was never served. So that prompted Scarlet to hire an attorney to address this issue. And what Scarlet's attorney ended up filing with the court was pretty much what I just stated. Scarlet's attorney reaches out to Catherine Brown's lawyer stating, we are going to be asking the court for sanctions. We're going to be asking for legal fees. We're going to be asking for other costs based on what your client did. And the sanctions were going to be against the attorney as well. Because Scarlet's position was, how are you dropping me from a lawsuit I'm not a part of, and in the process, putting my government name on a document and repeating assertion, essentially defaming claims, slanderous claims about me, and I'm not even a party to the lawsuit. So Scarlet's attorney made it very clear that they're going to go for the gusto. They're going to be dragging Catherine Brown and her lawyer across the coals in the legal system. And not only that, they threatened an anti-SLAP action. Now, for those who aren't aware of anti-SLAP or SLAP process, well, I'll tell you what SLAP stands for. It stands for Strategic Lawsuit Against Public Participation. So what happens, people will try to file documents in court just to shut you up, although you've done nothing to violate their rights. Because, you know, in this country, we have liberal free speech. Scarlet's attorney made it very clear that they were going to file an anti-SLAP accusing Catherine Brown and her lawyer, it wasn't just Catherine Brown, of targeting Scarlet for retaliation, trying to embarrass her, trying to force her into a legal situation she has nothing to do with, as a, quote, parting shot. Just trying to put her out there, although she knows she doesn't have any legal standing. She did nothing for a whole year, more than a year, targeting Scarlet. And then Scarlet's attorney also stated, based on what had occurred with us getting dismissed, and there was another attorney who Catherine Brown sued in the lawsuit, and her case was dismissed, and the judge made it very clear, not only was there a jurisdiction issue, the facts that she purported, well, what she's put forth was so far below a standard, it was never going to survive. So her lawyer is mentioning all of these things. In addition, the lawyer proposed an agreement that they would not pursue the anti-SLAP and all of these costs, aside from lawyers' fees, if CB withdrew the documents with Scarlet's name on them. So they agreed to wrap that up, and let's just agree to this and we'll be done. So some time went on. Come May, Scarlet's attorney followed up. What is happening with the agreement? We're supposed to have this agreement crafted for the court so we can get the court to look at it and sign off on it. And then at that time, CB's lawyer said, no, she's not going to agree to what we had discussed because your client has been talking about CB and talking about me. Oh, sounds like some real Jay-Z bullshit, right? So at this point, Scarlet's lawyer has resumed going for the gusto. He's going for the sanctions, he's going for the fines, and he wants those imposed upon CB and her attorney because they threatened to file a default judgment, or they stated they're going to file a default judgment. You can't be filing documents in court that are completely and totally irrelevant, and an attorney should know that. She is not a party to the lawsuit, so you can't file a default judgment. They called CB vexatious more than once, saying that she's filing court documents just to annoy and harass. And they're using the fact that she went a year plus doing nothing on this lawsuit. You cannot convince any court that you're serious about a lawsuit that you go a year plus on and you do absolutely nothing. Now, let's say that this attorney really was sick the whole time. There would have been some communication with the court. So Scarlet's attorney is pushing hard for these sanctions. And just to let you know, this is what I wanted to do. I wanted her sanctioned. I wanted that lawyer sanctioned because she flat out lied. Flat out lied in so many ways. But the attorney said, well, let's see if she does anything else. If she makes any other moves, then we'll take that route. Okay, fine. And I take it back to lifelong lesson that was drilled into my head growing up. Every single thing that someone says, every single thing that someone does involving you doesn't require a reaction. You don't need to be on autopilot. You don't need to act a fool. You don't have to put on a show. There are some times when there are those who don't know when to quit until they get hit square between the eyes. And I look at this situation as a perfect example. We don't need to respond to everything. And sure enough, she continued on. CB continued on and went to go for Scarlet. And Scarlet went and got an attorney, and they aren't backing down. Now, the judge has yet to make a decision, but that motion is in. And I agree. I think you should not be allowed just to go to court and file documents willy-nilly. And what you're saying in the documents has absolutely no semblance of evidence that you can produce. And you know you can't produce that evidence. And I'm going to give you one example. In that lawsuit, this is what I really wanted to go for. CB stated that I paid TCTV. And I believe she said I was paying them, but I know for sure she said TCTV. And I was paying to attack her like they were on the payroll or he was on the payroll. She really indicated with very adamant, unequivocal disposition. She called it paid mercenary. I was paying people to attack her. And the people she's referring to are those TCTV and whoever else those flunkies and fools were. And here's the thing, that was going to be icing on the cake had we gone for it. She completely omitted that she had any dealings with them. She didn't even mention that she was the one sitting over on their live streams for hours, 4 and 5 hours. And who was she talking about? Who were they talking about? All this stuff that they were saying, all of it was false. Bullshit, even coming down to calling me a white person. And she was complaining about, I don't know if it was Aryan Nation or white supremacy. Multiple times she was saying I was white. Multiple times she's saying I was harassing the black community as a white person. And even told one of my contractors that I dated Umar Johnson. I went out with Umar Johnson and he dumped me. And now I'm out of my mind because he's talking to other women or he's doing whatever with other women. And now I'm harassing those women. We have the emails. We have all of this stuff. And she's going to a court, leaving all of this out She didn't tell the court that she was the one who was in deep, in tight with TCTV and them. Phone calls, behind the scenes. I never even spoke to TCTV or any of them over there. So that, to me, is serious. She, in essence, put me in her position. It was like I was over there, me, AAS, and not her. She didn't even mention it. So deliberately trying to mislead the court. She would never be able to produce any evidence whatsoever that I had anything to do with any of them, while we have tons and tons of live streams with her on the panels with them, and even all the falling and fighting and all that stuff. I was never in those chats like that. I was never, ever in Dempsey's chat. I was never in TCTV's. None of them. When that stuff was going on, I wasn't there. I never was there. In fact, I never visited those other chats until well after that lawsuit stuff got started. And I only went a few times. And thank God I didn't go before, because I saw how things were. So there is nothing in 2020, 2021, or 2022 with me in any of those chats. And I still never been to TCTV's page or been in his chat or anything, or had a conversation with him. And sure as hell, never spoke to him behind the scenes. If you can produce any evidence that I gave him 1 red cent, which she would never be able to do. So just lying on that level and so many other levels was the reason why I wanted her sanctioned. I wanted that attorney sanctioned. But the lawyer said, let's take a step back. And I listened. You listen to other people. Now see what's happening. Scarlet is going for the gusto. And that's just fine with me. I hope that Scarlet prevails. The crap that she did was so far out of line. She was embarrassed. This is how I look at it. She was embarrassed because she promised the moon and the stars to Umar Johnson. And she ended up getting embarrassed because whatever happened, they went after each other. Catherine Brown and TCTV and CB and all them. It had nothing to do with us. It failed. And of course, Umar Johnson watches everything. She was embarrassed and is angry because she was left looking like this Mona situation. Where's Mona? Running her mouth all over the place. I think Carrie Ann mentioned the other day, why doesn't AAS talk about Mona? Mona's not up here with her avatar. I'm not going to talk to a robot avatar, somebody perpetrating as Mona De Leon. And we have a couple of, good suspicion about what avatar she's using. Until she comes up here with her known avatar, I'm not dealing with anybody else's avatar. I'm ignoring them. So she very well probably is up in these YouTube streets, but she's not using the avatar and the name that she's known by. So she was the one that felt embarrassed. And obviously, this was a fact because it was stated on videos and clips and people would talk about it. Scarlet had a bunch of wrenches and people felt some kind of way about it. And it got down to being, oh my God, she keeps blocking me. Oh my God, she timed me out. I was never in those chats. I'm glad I wasn't, but it was talked about. It was referenced in the spaces that I did go to. If Scarlet happened to come over to a channel where I go to, somebody might come over and say something about it. It was known that the wrenches were a big deal. And CB even was on some video screaming and hollering about wrenches. She was all into them. I had no contact with any of those subjects over there. I don't care how much they talked about me. I never spoke to them. Someone talking about you doesn't mean you're in communication with them. They're just running their mouth about you. And that's what TCTV was doing. Very abusive, very harassing. And again, what happened with CB and TCTV, I don't care. Don't even want to know. Whether he did what he did to them, I don't give a damn. Because she was involved with TCTV and those other subjects when it came to harassing me. That's a situation there. All those emails she sent me, but I mentioned that before. But I wanted to let you know what was happening with Scarlet because there's a pending decision. I hope they get sanctioned. I hope Catherine Brown gets sanctioned. I hope that attorney gets sanctioned. This will be a lesson. Before you open up your mouth and try to file some lawsuit on somebody, don't think for a second that everybody feels the same way about their name being in court documents. I personally don't give a damn. I don't care. But Scarlett cared. And this is her angle, that she wanted her name in the legal documents in order to ruin her reputation and embarrass her. And she's emphasizing the fact that she was never a party to that lawsuit. But Catherine Brown said, I'm dropping her, and then puts her government name in there for the first time and repeats the allegations. I hope Scarlett prevails. I hope they get fined, re-emphasizing. I hope that CB gets fined. I hope that attorney gets fined. And to me, I'll be just fine with that. And of course, if she wants to file some other, whatever she wants to file, I'm going to swing for the fences and I'm not going to let go because I have a lot of things that I can prove that were downright lies that she put in those court papers. And it's not a mistake. It's not a misunderstanding. It's not a judge. This is my position and I think I can prevail on legal principle. No, there is a difference between thinking you can prevail on legal principle and flat out lying, especially when you present it to a court and you say, hey, court, hey, judge, in this video, AAS is saying this, and in the video, it's not even mentioned. What's the reason that you would submit that information to the court? The court's stupid? No one's going to look? No one's going to verify? That kind of shit. You can't convince anyone that's a mistake. It's just trying so hard to find a way to make something be that it isn't. But I'm very much satisfied. I'm very satisfied that Scarlett's attorney filed that motion and is seeking sanctions against CB and her lawyer. I hope she prevails. Listen, folks, you know I got more coming your way. In the meantime, buyer beware.